Hi again, everybody. I'm Zaid. This is the bookshelf, and this is my fourth bare bones review. This time we have from the second Reaper Bones Kickstarter the thank you pack. Now I wish I had a better title for this one, but that's literally what it's called. When the Kickstarter hit over $3 million, I'm not kidding, they released a thank you pack for everyone, which basically included a nice variety of miniatures, and they really don't fit any other theme. Half of them, however, fit within one concept they called the Highland encounter, while the rest is just a grab bag of assorted different miniatures. So, let's get through them very quickly. The Highland encounter includes 4 miniatures out of the 8 that were planned and 9 that are included. First on the list is this lovely gnoll. Now, when it comes to Reaper Bones, you've had quite a lot of gnolls in the past, and this one is not very different from many of them. According to the Highland theme, he's kind of got a bit of a Scottish kilt going there. And he has the small buckler. The axe doesn't look incredibly Scottish to me. If you wanted something that was more stereotypical or frequently depicted in media, you'd probably have him with a giant claymore. But, as it is, he is a very nice new model for your gnoll collection, and if you got Reaper Bones anyway, you've got quite a number of them already. In one of the later videos, I will be showing you, I'll probably show you what it looks like, how many gnolls I actually got in this thing. Next on the list is the more stereotypical figure. And by that I mean a Highlander lass. She's got long boots, she has the fall and a large cloak, and if you look at the concept artwork for the pledge level, it'll be painted in such a way that it resembles the tartan, or is that tartar? I forget. The pattern for Scottish kilts, which indicate what their family is. I, for one, am not likely to ever be able to paint something like that. It requires far more detail and eye for small scale anything I've got. But she's a lovely miniature, and as I was mentioning before, she actually does have a two-handed claymore, as you see here. Now, as a sword with very thin components, it's a bit of warped right there. It's kind of gone S-shaped on me. So I'll be dipping that in hot water to repair the damage. The artwork shows that she has a tiny buckler hanging on the side of her belt. That'd be right about here. You can paint that as buckler, or you can paint it as a decoration. I like it. This little guy, I got no clue what to tell you, honestly. He's not a dwarf, and he's not a gnome. He's some sort of familiar. And I'll need to look up what he is exactly. But he is about half the size of a human being. Very large, bushy hair, and he's blowing a set of bagpipes. I think that's a first for anyone with bagpipes in miniatures, but I may be wrong. The last piece available in the set is a unique one, and I am really fond of it. This set of stones, or rather this stone with all these wood bits on it, is a bit druidic when you look at it. I don't know if it shows, it probably doesn't with this low quality of camera, but the entire thing has grooves along its surface. It'll go in very well as objective markers or scenery for a Scottish theme location, Scottish Highlands. Or if you want to use it in another miniatures game, it's pretty perfect for a Circle Ouroboros stone construct, I guess. You can use it for a shifting stone. You could probably use it for the control stone on a set of mannequins. Objective markers or anything like that, it works very well, I think. Next up on the list is a miniature that was originally just a one piece, and that would be this cloak beast. Now he is tiny, and that is saying a lot. You can see from this, his wingspan is nice, and it is thin. Really, I don't know how they managed to make this guy so delicate. Bones material is a lot better than what I thought it was. I would have expected this thing to have a lot of flash, a lot of detail, but he holds it pretty well. He doesn't have holes on him, so you're going to have to create them if you want to have him stuck on a base, flying in midair. I don't know what he is exactly. The phrase says cloak beast, a term I'm not familiar with. And he came with this little base, or formation, or whatever you want to call it now. Like I said, there's no indentation or anything, so you're probably going to have to pin it if you want to stick him on top of this thing. The base itself doesn't look too different from what you would have found in the Dungeon Decor set last time, from my last review. Pointed, jagged rocks, stalactite, stalagmite, rock formation, mushroom evens, pretty good. Now the next one is probably the most useful miniature in the whole set. And this is called a filth beast. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing. This wasn't created with any particular game or miniature concept in mind. It is a giant maw with a tongue. It has literally 3 legs, 3 giant pincer legs, like anything you'd find on StarCraft or maybe even the Legion of Everblight. 2 flailing, wispy limbs on the top, a kind of scorpion-esque tail, and a body that's, I don't know how to describe this body, honestly. You could paint it up any way you imagine to make those things on its side look like armor chitin or protoplasm sacs or egg carriers. What, I don't know. This thing could be anything, and the site makes a lot of recommendations. Personally, I think it makes an impressive chaos spawn, mutated beyond recognition, and once I paint him up, he is definitely going to go with my small list of spawn up on my 40k/fantasy, since they are an option, shelf. I'm very fond of creating different spawn that way. Now this creature is unique. It's called a peryton. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. It's P-E-R-Y-T-O-N. That's the only pronunciation that kind of makes sense, though. I don't think peryton sounds right, but I could be wrong. And I had to look him up. I really had to look him up. According to the sites I've checked out, the peryton is a hybrid, one of the typical rare chimeric beasts that are created by people's flight's fancy. In this case, combining a stag with avian features. Now, some depictions have these guys as little more than stag pegasi, wings spread on their backs. Many of them also have avian talons, just like this little guy has. One right here on the rock, the other one tucked up into his abdomen down there. Feathering details in addition to fur. This one's pretty unique. I don't think outside of the Dungeon and Dragon rulebook, where they're called peryton, not peryton actually, do they have only hind legs. This one doesn't have any front legs at all. It's just kind of like a avian breast on the rear legs, and it has a draconic or maybe even lizard-like tail for balance in the rear. And that's what's keeping the bulk of this creature's mass connected to its base and balanced. Like I said, a very unusual, very unique miniature. I don't know that there are many like it. I'd never heard of it before this Kickstarter package. He's interesting looking, and I have a hard time deciding whether I want to keep him as a rare monster for my bestiary, or do away with him. Pass him off to someone who may like it more. The last piece is the largest, and definitely the most elaborate. Elaborate because the base and the miniature are both detachable, and 2 of the 3 limbs on each side need to be glued on. This lovely little lady is described as a snake demon. Snake demon, snake woman. Since there isn't really much lore on them, you could get away with calling her a slith as well if you're into the Dark Eldar army for 40k. 6 arms, melee weapons, pretty nice expression, fully detachable from the base. Her balance is really good, so if you don't want her to look like she's crawling around on the rocks, you can just glue her onto something else and save this thing for a different miniature or scenery as you like. She is topless, and she doesn't really have anything by the way of clothing except for a couple of bangles on her arm. So in that sense, she's ready for full customization. I've never actually worked with bones when it comes to green stuff, or super sculpey. But converting her could be quite a fun challenge. And if nothing else, the material is cheap, pliable, and the miniature itself is relatively low cost, so I would probably recommend this as a good starter miniature to make customized bits for other series if you like her and want to do something unique with her. And that is the thank you package. This is the last of the Reaper Bones 2 add-ons that I had to check out. The next set I'll be looking at is the first add-on package. That set is going to be a little bit more difficult to go into because it is quite large, so I'll probably be splitting that into 2 halves. But that's a problem for the next video. I'm Zaid. Thanks for watching, and happy wargaming.